If I could have your attention, please. I think we're a little ahead of 6:45, but nobody's here. The only people who aren't here are Zoom window people who I think are planning on popping in just at about 6:45. So two of them. We got two of them. The rest will come on when they come on. That'd be fine. So I want to thank you all for coming. Welcome to this meeting of the Illustrious Clients of Indianapolis. We are here right now, and so we'll cover. This is our second to last meeting of this year. Time has gone by so fast this year. It's amazing. So first we'll start with some housekeeping things. Our planning meeting for December will be on Sunday afternoon, November 9 at 2 o'clock on Zoom. So mark your calendars. You'll get many emails about it, but it would be great if you could come. It's your opportunity to oh, someone's coming in. Cindy. It's your opportunity to, I just have to glance over, to get your voice heard and have input and volunteer to do things. That's always very welcome. And so you'll hear all about that. So that'll be November 9, Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Our December meeting is at Old Oakland Country Club. That's out on the east side. Golf club, I should say. Golf club. Out on the east side, right? It's where we were last December. East 75th Street. That was a great venue. We're going to trust that the construction is better. But, okay, well, we'll give lots of instructions to leave early. So, that'll be done. Yeah, I think what we'll do is we should adjust our cocktail time is 6 o'clock to 6:45, but I think everybody gets here early and is in place by about 6:30. So I think in the future we should adjust this to 6:30 start time, just as a practical reality. So a couple other things I want to do is I want to get that done and get that done. Okay, I want to give out some kudos while we're standing here. Y'all got your newsletter, right? First of all, the newsletter is so great. I'm so proud of the newsletter, Shelley. It's so great. I don't know how many of you get print edition. I mean, the electronic version is wonderful, but the print edition, I get it in the mail, and I'm like, oh great, it's here. And so I start reading it, and I open it up, and what? It's in color.
There's a story.
And I figured there must be, but it's like there's color pictures, and I was just. We did that once before, but it turned out to be kind of cost prohibitive. I've just continued to be so impressed with the number of people who continually contribute to this newsletter. I'm urging you all to do it. Mark is in it, and everybody's in it. There's people. Alan Schmitzer is here. By the way, Cindy just joined us, and somebody else on owner's iPhone is.
I don't know who owner's
I don't know who that is, but welcome. Might be, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to the newsletter contributors and, of course, our newsletter publisher, because this is really top shelf. So well done, Shelley, and everybody for that. That's just great. Okay, let's see. If you were in the planning meeting, you will remember, and many of you weren't. But if you read your newsletter, you saw the news that the election is. We give a little history of our election. Our election
But that could be a-
for reasons, yeah, right. It could be we could do a whole paper on it. The election was over the decades that I've been in this club has floated around in the calendar for reasons that nobody remembers. At one time it was in March. And then that was like in the 70s or something, right? Who knows why it was in March. And then it kind of bumped back to February. And it was in February a long time. And I don't know if that was everybody's feeling the Valentine's love or something. So we wanted to, pat each other on the back and okay, you're president. No, yeah. I don't know what that was about. February was bizarre. So then it moved to January at the Victorian dinner where it's been for a while. But we're moving it to December. It only makes sense to move this to December so that each administration runs it's a calendar year, January to December, and then with a fresh start in January. January is our first meeting of the coming year. So there will be an election at the December meeting, and I'm hoping that you all come. I'll talk a little bit more about the election at the end, but there is a slate. The nomination window is open. Anybody can run for anything, and that's always been how it's been. We're not changing that, and so just make note. It's an important meeting, December. Yes. Plus, it's our year-end holiday, blue carbuncle. It's Christmassy. It's fun, and it's going to be a special meeting. So always is. So I'm hoping to see you all there too. So all right. Well, that's all my announcements for now. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Yes, Mark. Can you come up here so that people online can?
Sure.
See
I mean,
too?
it's no big mess, right?
Go through the camera.
Up here.
Well, there's no microphone.
I know, but people online can see.
They're not coming. That's right.
They can hear you through.
Okay.
Now they can hear you.
All I wanted to say was the December meeting last year, people got there very early, and it really causes havoc with the bartending and, because they're not ready. And so if we're going to move the times up, I just need to alert the venues, because if we say we start at 6, that's when they're ready to go. And it was a little bit of a problem last year because they were really scrambling because, we're all really heavy drinkers. So they, and they accommodated just fine. But I would just say to you, try to get there not too early, because it gives the staff time, to get set up.
No, of course, I get there early to set this up, so I get there like about an hour before.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
but-
some
but
people have
that's-
logistical reasons.
Logistical reasons. I don't ask them for anything to drink.
But if it's just to get a good seat, that's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
closer to the
yeah, that's all. That's it.
great. Okay. That's just a logistical tweak. Yeah, Gina, come on up.
I just wanted to invite every one of you to come to the Ribston Pippins annual dinner. It's our 37th anniversary. It takes place on November 15th in Troy, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. And our speaker of the evening is going to be Mike McSwiggan, whom you probably all know. He's a member of this group.
He's funny.
And he's great. He's funny and he's knowledgeable. And we've got Mark giving a toast, and some of these people are coming. Steve and Pam and
I will be, but
Anne and Louise and Shelley, and of course Mark and Don. So I don't know about Mary Ann, maybe.
maybe.
So it's a very welcoming group, and I think you'll have a great time. And so I hope to see more of you there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Just an added plug. Raise your hand if you're going to that meeting. Okay, keep it up on the count. You guys are close. That's 8 people in this room, maybe 9, who are going up to this meeting. Now, it's a great fun time. And if you want to go, there's a hotel that everybody stays in, Hampton Inn, very affordable and nice. And the Detroit area has more than a couple, some really, used bookstores, antiquarian bookstores around here kind of withered on the vine because of the internet. That's a real tragedy. But up there, they're still going and massively. And here we go. And they so we plan to go up early enough, I think, if it's all right with you guys, because we're all carpooling, to have lunch and at least go to one.
One of that deli.
And we're going, this is deli. Oh my gosh. It's really something. Yeah. So it's worth the trip up, and then you go and then you have this great Sherlock Holmes meeting and then a little after party somewhere. Weren't you telling me you found a couple of places that might be good? I don't know. We'll figure something out. It's great. It's a great time. So plan, really, if you want to go, you'll have plenty of familiar faces there too. So okay, that's enough about that. Just think about it. Okay, anybody else have anything they want to share? I just want to share this. The latest issue of the Baker Street Journal is out and in the mail and arriving in people's mailboxes as we speak. Fabienne, it's on its way to France right now, so I'll send you the tracking number when I have it. And Louise, yes.
Well, as usual, I have men's ties for sale and ladies' scarves for sale and number pins.
Yes. Yeah, all the Illustrious Clients merch is available. Ties, pins, scarves, all kinds of
I forgot to bring the
tote bags, all that. Just contact Louise and do all your Illustrious Clients Christmas shopping. It's almost time. All right. Anybody else have any announcements they want to share? All right, good. I'm not sure if the food is ready yet, but 5 minutes. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves, and we'll give you the high sign when it's ready to go. Thanks, everybody.
It is well known that Sherlock Holmes had a low opinion of the intelligence, ingenuity, but never the tenacity or integrity of most law enforcement personnel, be it Scotland Yard detectives or country constables. But Inspector Forrester of the Surrey Police met with his favor. Holmes describes the inspector's theory of the note's origin as ingenious and not entirely impossible. And later he claps him on the back, saying, "It is a pleasure to work with you." Forrester, as expected, is reluctant to accuse members of the landed gentry as suspects of murder, but he comes through when needed, striking the revolver from Alec Cunningham's hand and making the arrest. We must toast Inspector Forrester, one of the apparent best in his line of work, for being clever and quick-witted and saving the day. Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Our next toast is offered to Dr. Watson. To Sherlock Holmes by Cindy Brown.
Thank you. In the Reigate Squire, or Puzzle if you prefer, we see Holmes as we rarely see our favorite consulting detective. He is weak, road-weary, and very ill. He has stretched himself to his physical and mental limits solving a case we know only as the Netherland Sumatra Company and the colossal schemes of Baron Marprutius. We can only imagine the toll it has taken on Holmes. Holmes is depleted. Yet, when he is convinced to go to the country for a few days with Dr. Watson, only on the promise that he will be staying at a bachelor establishment with all the freedom he can desire, he finally agrees. One of the things that I truly like about this story is that we get to see Holmes in he's more than just a machine, albeit a very highly functioning machine. And I'm not referring to the Holmes that we get to see that gets revealed in The Adventure of the Devil's Foot and The Three Garridebs. where we see a hint of emotion about the depth of his friendship and affection for Watson. I'm talking about just what it is that makes him tick, that makes him feel vibrant. This is a Holmes that he always plays pretty close to the vest. We see that Holmes is the happiest when he is working to solve the crime, the puzzle, that thing that makes him wake up every morning. Of course, it's good for him to get some much needed rest, but making the streets and countryside of Victorian England safe is really what keeps him alive. It's like the blood that courses through his veins. Yes, that thing that keeps him breathing, and dare we say, happy? So to this end, it keeps us happy as well. If Holmes didn't have a crime to solve or a mystery to untangle, where would he be in this world? His life, I believe, at least in his mind, would have no purpose. When he hears of that little local mischief in the neighborhood, his eyebrows lift, possibly a little like a deer, his ears perk up, and his attention goes laser sharp to that particular conversation. Even if he is supposed to be recuperating, his heart races just a little, his blood pressure probably perks up a little, and his breathing becomes a little less jagged. He's becoming like the leopard who sees his prey, his goal, and becomes perfectly still and attuned to everything about the quarry. This is when Sherlock Holmes is at his best. As noted by Watson, when he raised his face again, I was surprised to see that his cheek was tinged with color and his eyes as bright as before his illness. He sprang to his feet with all of his old energy. Thank you, Mr. Holmes, for showing us your weakness, out of which becomes one of your greatest strengths. Holmes is a man who truly craves mental exaltation, and that is when he is in his own proper atmosphere. Please raise your glasses and join me in a toast to the world's greatest and only consulting detective, Sherlock Holmes.
Well, now it falls to me to lead a toast to the other characters in the story, the Cunninghams, father and son. I have a long history in this club of toasting the villains because sometimes I think the villains get a slight shift in perspective, throws some light on them. I'm really struggling with the Cunninghams. Cunninghams really suck. They're terrible. They are not good. Let's look at the son. I will conclude this by trying to find something positive to say, but see if we get there. The son is a snarky, smart aleck, blustering, arrogant jerk who upon meeting Sherlock Holmes instantly insults him, and we know how that goes usually, not too well. And then, of course, there's the father, the sullen squire who is alternatively complimentary and then troublemaking, but of course ultimately tries to help in murdering Sherlock Holmes. So what can we say? Is there anything toast worthy about the Cunninghams? Boy, it's hard. Let's just say it's nice to see a father and son working so hard together on a project to secure the future of their estate. I mean, most sons and fathers become estranged and the son wants to go somewhere, but not here. No, these two are hand in glove. In fact, they're so committed to working together as father and son that they share the task of writing an important document together. So, when you think about, like, for instance, I looked at I tried to come up with an argument that what their actions were a misinterpretation. I tried to go with the angle that no, Holmes had already faked a fit at one point. Maybe they thought he was choking and they were trying to administer CPR. If you ever saw the Sidney Pack, it kind of looks like a tag team CPR episode, but alas, no, even I couldn't buy that one. So let's raise your glass to the Cunninghams. Oh, no, I do have one thing. The Cunninghams, I think, are some of the worst villains in the canon. I mean, they do have the distinction of being hands-on. Several people in the canon try to kill Sherlock Holmes. You've got air guns. You hire an assassin to beat him up outside out in the street during the Illustrious Client. You've got things where, but those guys are just hired thugs. The only guy who really put his hands on Sherlock Holmes and tried to kill him was Professor Moriarty and the Cunninghams. So they have that distinction. So let's raise a toast to father and son, two of the biggest jerks in the canon, horrible people, and yet they gave us a pretty good story. So here's to the Cunninghams. Thank you. Ooh, that sucked. That was terrible.
So I had a birthday last week. I was 39 again, but I received a Sherlockian book, except that the Sherlockian book looks like this. Okay. Except that it is a vase, and it arrived full of flowers. And I thought, how appropriate. Here's this floral arrangement. But if you look at it from end on, and somebody immediately said, oh, you know what you ought to do? You ought to hide stuff in it and put it on your bookshelf. Yeah. And nobody will know the difference because it'll be in there with the other 120,000 Sherlock books. So, I mean, it's not like they won't all fit on one bookcase anymore. But on the back is a quote from Arthur Conan Doyle. And I just thought that was kind of fun. I've never seen a Sherlock. The quote on the back says, as a rule, the more bizarre a thing is, the less mysterious it proves to be. So anyway, I thought it was fun because I've never had a Sherlock base before. And I did. So there you go. Yeah, I like the idea.
Well, we have.
Okay, people on camera did. So when I was doing my toast to Sherlock Holmes, I was wearing my coat here. This was a case of extraordinary good luck. I was at Holmes, Doyle and Friends back in March. I was walking around checking out the vendor tables, and one of the folks from the Agri-Treasurers was selling canned goods and baked goods. So I stopped to look because I like to like to see what she's making. And hanging next to all of that was this coat with a tag on it that said, free to a good Holmes. And I thought, I can afford that. And it fit pretty well. So.
So I'll take this moment to just add that that's a good reason to go to the Dayton conference. Well, there's great vendors there, and there's all kinds of weird stuff you can come home with. Pam knows I come home with all kinds of stuff every March. I'm like, hey, check this out. All right, so Fabienne. Okay, Fabienne's next.
Yes. Hello. I just wanted to say that I went to the Louvre today, and I've got some good news for everyone. I must share my screen. Can you accept?
Sure. Hold on a second here. Let me get my mouse into the proper place. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's okay?
Yes.
Do you see my screen now?
I do not.
Well, I have some good news from the Louvre.
Can you try again? Let's see what happens here. I did try to share I did accept your sharing.
Okay.
Oh, there she goes. Okay. There you go.
I've good news for you. Someone is on the case.
Oh.
Sherlock Holmes is on the case.
Sherlock Holmes is on the case. Sherlock Holmes caught the thief. You see, the moment he caught her, actually. So
It's hilarious.
it was just a little thing with the Olmesian Circle of Paris. We met this little shooting in front of the Louvre this afternoon, and I wanted to share it with you.
That was very cute.
Right.
Very cool.
Okay, somebody else I saw. Yeah, Regina.
So my sister from California was in town. My sister from California was in town recently, and she found this. It's actually a puzzle. It says 252 piece double-sided puzzle. Sherlock Holmes and Hound of the Baskervilles. So it's kind of cool.
Hold up to the camera if you can. There you go.
And I haven't done it yet, but it should be interesting.
Take you a while.
Thank you. Awesome. Great. Okay, anybody else have anything? I have some.
Okay.
I have something.
Okay.
One of our favorite members from Chicago who is not here tonight is Bob Sharfman. And if you remember at the September meeting at the Riviera Club, Bob got up and was telling us about he's got a new book called But I Digress, The Musings of a Sherlockian Motormouth. So it's out. At the time he said it's just out on Kickstarter. And but now it's out on, I don't know what that meant, but it's out on, I know that's a funding thing, but it's on Amazon now. I ordered a copy 2 days ago. Mine came in. Here it is. So Bob, I know you're not here tonight, but maybe you'll see the recording. I know I ordered your book. I want you to know I ordered your book. I know that Don Curtis over here ordered it too. And so this is wonderful. So we love it when our friends get published. And this looks fun. Bob is a character. But we love you, Bob. And so I got a copy of his book. I can't wait to start reading it. So I wanted to share that. Does anybody else have any Sherlockian show and tell to share? Okay, good. All right, let's do Split the Pot. So you've all had a chance to buy Split the Pot tickets, and if anybody doesn't, too bad. Yeah, you're out of luck.
$47.
$47.
If you should have started this whole Mexican, very quickly,
Okay.
I look forward to this week.
All right, here we go. I'm trying to find. Oh, I think I got it. Okay.
Why not?
All right. The number is 061 337.
My gosh, I actually won.
Oh, it is. Okay, now it's time for one of my favorite things to do as the illustrious client, and that is to formally present a membership certificate to relatively new members. And tonight we have one. Daniel Knight, would you please come up? Can someone take a picture? All right, Daniel, this is your membership certificate. I'll read it. We haven't read one of these out loud, but I'm going to do it again.
You should do it in front of the
Oh,
camera.
yeah, sorry, step over here.
Look at the camera.
Yeah.
I can raise it.
Anyone who has followed the master's footsteps through the swirling fog, who has taken the course in Ming pottery and learned the secrets of the Emperor Shomu and the Northern Wei dynasty, who has stood with the master against the murderous attack of Baron Adelbert Gruner's FHAs in Regent Street, who has in every way been found a worthy companion and trusted comrade, Then be it known that Daniel Knight is hereby joined among the ranks of the illustrious clients of Indianapolis. Okay. Sir, welcome aboard. Okay. Great. Ooh, I love doing that. Great. Super. Okay. Great, great, great. Pen, here it is. All right. Now let's do some visiting sign reports. Don, you want to come up and talk about that?
I am not only a member of the Illustrious Clients, but I'm also a member of the Tankerville Club in Cincinnati. I'm a member of the Ribston Pippins in Detroit, and I'm a member of the Tourists up in Chicago. So while some of you were in Baltimore last month at the SOB meeting, I was up in Chicago with Louise and Shelley. We had fun visiting those folks up there. And so I just want to report on our meeting. It was September 27th at the Great Escape, which is a restaurant up in Chicago that they typically go to. The food's very good. It's very affordable for Chicago. It's like $40 or something. So for Chicago fare, that's pretty darn reasonable if you ask me. The group is a lot of fun. They are a hoot. John Schimberg and Linda Crone are the co-stewards, and they do a great job running that. Scott Monty was the guest speaker up there, and he gave a very interesting talk on Sherlock Holmes' past, present, and future. And it was an interactive talk. The whole group was able to identify certain actors or people who have portrayed Holmes in the past, and then people who are portraying Holmes in the present day, on television. And then we started talking about what Sherlock Holmes looks like possibly in the future. We got into artificial intelligence. We got into virtual reality. It was a very interesting discussion. And Scott Monty, if you've ever met him, he is quite a character and does a wonderful job. We all had a wonderful time. Their next meeting is December 27th. I know it's 2 days after Christmas, but I guarantee if you go up there, you'll have a good time. So let me know if you want any other information. I'll be happy to let you. Okay.
That was a busy weekend in the Sherlockian world. While a bunch of our members were up in Chicago, I traveled out to Baltimore. I had been invited to be the featured speaker at the Six Napoleons of Baltimore on Friday night, September 27th. And I'd never been to the Six Napoleons. The Six Napoleons is one of the old line science societies that began in the 40s, just like the Illustrious Clients did. And so it's got some, to use this horrible word, gravitas. It's got gravitas in the Sherlockian world, like the clients do. And so I was but it's an invitation only society. And so I was very honored to be invited to speak there. Well, Steve, what did you speak on? Well, there's a little interesting story. I was digging through this past summer. You've heard me whining about all the Pat Ward material in my garage and the archives and ad nauseum. And so I was out there in the summer and I was going through stuff and I found some papers in her archive, Pat's, God rest her soul, her archives. And they were both papers that had been written and delivered by me in Dayton in the late 1990s. One of them was this paper that I remember quite well on the Granada television series that I gave. And my memory of this paper was that it just was a killer good paper and it went over really well. And then I read it and man, is that horrible. It's terrible. How did this get, it was popular at the time, but I guess we were all in that gushing golden age of, Granada enthusiasm. But I read that thing now and I was like, oh, this will never see the light of day. But the other one was a paper I gave the next year. I think it was 1997. And it was on Lord Peter Wimsey and Sherlock Holmes. And I read that and I thought, wow, I was really pleased with it. So I transcribed it back into my computer and I gave it a 30 plus years brush up. And that was the paper I gave at the Six Napoleons. And maybe I'll be able to give it at a client's meeting sometime 30 years after I first gave it in Dayton. So it was quite wonderful. I flew out on Friday. Oh, I forgot this. So I flew out on Friday and I had to leave at this horrible, ungodly hour in the morning because I couldn't get I don't know why, an affordable flight, direct flight to Baltimore. You'd think that would not be a problem, but it was like double the price. So I left at the crack of dawn and had a connecting flight in Detroit. And I get to the gate and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I look over and there's Regina. The same Detroit flight to Baltimore. I was like, what are you doing here? This is great. And so she got the direct flight from Baltimore. So, okay, so there was that. That was kind of cool. But then the other thing was sitting there, I was like, I hear somebody say that, oh, this is way too much information. I hear this voice. I hear the guy say something like, blah, blah, blah. My last name is Mothersbaugh. And which probably means nothing to anybody, except I'm like, Mothersbaugh, isn't that the leader of the band Devo? And I look over and it's like, oh my God, that's the leader of the band Devo. I'm so I'm like, I'm never shy about going at, like accosting people in public. So yeah, well, we know it's somebody who said that. So then he dashed into the men's room for 20 minutes and then he came back out and then I'm like, okay, I gotta go talk to him. So I walk up to him, I'm like, excuse me. And he looks at me like I'm gonna kill him, and I go, Devo. And he goes, yeah. And I go, can I get a picture? And he goes, yeah. So I take get a selfie, and then I leave him alone, So if you go to my Facebook page, there's that. Okay, so this is like, at least I didn't do it. It was taking so long in the men's room, I almost went in. It's like, miss my. Excuse me, sir. So anyway, wait, I'm not even in Baltimore yet. And that's okay. So we get to Baltimore. It was great. Great meeting. The hotel we stayed in was really cool. Boutique weirdo hotel where all the walls are painted black. Really strange. Really cool though. Had a nice bar. And so the meeting was wonderful. And then the next day, there was another meeting of another group, Baltimore group called the SOBs, the Sherlockians of Baltimore. And I had been invited to give a lunch. It was a lunchtime meeting, and I'd been given the invitation to be on a sort of a two-man panel about Sherlockian film with Bob Katz, who many of you know, and that was quite fun. And at least it was fun for me. I don't know how everybody else, I think, seemed to enjoy it. And that was really good. And then I dashed to the airport and flew home. And so that's my report. But the takeaway of this is Sherlockian travel is great. You get to go places, you get to have some adventure. You may run into somebody famous. And if
Never leaving.
yeah, unless it's a picture. The witness. So, but the thing is, when you get, you go and you have this strange kind of whirlwind experience. It's very enriching and very affirming and very fun. And and the other thing is, there are many people there that I knew, but there are also many people there that I did not know at the time, but I do now. And that, my friends, is the real value of getting out of your local pond. You'll expand your circle of acquaintances and friends, because everywhere you go, when you find Sherlockians, you find friends. So that's my report of my whirlwind trip to Baltimore. Okay, let's do the quiz, and then we will do the story discussion.
Okay, so everybody had a chance to do the quiz. Is everybody ready? We good to go? I thought it would be appropriate, given the nature of the story, to do some fill in the blank. So that's what we started with. So number one, the whole question of the Netherlands Sumatra Company and of the colossal schemes of Baron. Well, I'll let somebody else say it because I'll butcher it. So those are the two answers there. I see that it was upon the 14th of April that I received a telegram from Lyon, which informed me that Holmes was lying ill in the Hotel Dulong. Let's say, if you know, speak up. My old friend, Colonel Hayter, had now taken a house near Reigate in Surrey, and had frequently asked me to come down to him upon a visit. The whole place was turned upside down, with the result that, this is the list of everything stolen. An odd volume of Pope's, Homer, 2 plated candlesticks, an ivory letter weight, a small oak barometer, and a ball of twine. And I loved this line, so I had to use it. A gang of burglars acting in the country might be expected to vary the scene of their operations and not to crack 2 cribs, same district, within a few days. The fates are against you, Watson, said he, laughing. These are much deeper waters than I had thought. I don't think you need to alarm yourself, said I. I have usually found that there was method in his madness. You've done it now, Watson, said he coolly. A pretty mess you've made of the carpet. It has always been my habit to hide none of my methods, either from my friend Watson or from anyone else. It is of the highest importance in the art of detection to be able to recognize out of a number of facts which are incidental and which vital. Now, of the 2 men, it is clear that the one who wrote the act and 2 was the ringleader. Did you say senile? I like points for creativity. Lost my place now. I'm laughing. Okay. I am only, of course, giving you the leading results now of my examination of the paper. There were 23 other deductions, which would be of more interest to experts. And I was sorry to cause you the sympathetic pain, which I know that you felt. So that was the mean part. Hopefully the next part was easier. How deep were the telegrams on the hotel room floor? Ankle deep. Whose house was broken into first? Acton or Old Acton? What was the name of the murder victim? William Kerwin. What position had the victim held? What was the name of the police inspector who asked Holmes for help? Everybody should have that one. It was on your program. How much of a reward did Holmes propose the Cunninghams offer? What detail did Holmes get wrong in his notice asking for information in the case? Yeah. What did Holmes knock over and then blame Watson for? Technically, it was a small square table and then all the stuff on top of it fell over, but we can name the stuff. That's fine too. Which Cunningham wrote his words in the note first? Alec, the son, yes. How did Holmes know that William wasn't shot in a struggle? Right, no powder blackening on his clothes. Why was William killed? He's blackmailing the Cunninghams. And who was referenced in the note? And I'm not going to ask Anne to sing the Annie Morrison toast that the Tankerville Club wrote to the tune of Mrs. Robinson, which is, I've now had that song stuck in my head for days. Just for fun, I don't know if we need them, but the tiebreaker questions. How many titles has the story had? What are the titles the story has appeared under? Correct. The Reigate Squire, the Reigate Puzzle, and the Reigate Squires. And where did each title appear? Again, points for creativity. The Reigate Squire was the original title in the Strand from June of 1893. The Reigate Puzzle was the original title in Harper's Weekly, also from June of 1893, because we Americans don't know what squires are. And the Reigate Squires was the first book publication title in Great Britain. So we had a total of 36 points possible before we went down to our tiebreakers. So does anybody have 36? Does anybody have 30? Does anybody have 25? Does anybody want to take away my quiz making rights? Told me it was too mean, but by then they'd already printed it, so you were stuck. Does anybody have 20?
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have 16 or better? 18? All right, so 18, 16. Points for creativity. Oh, no, those were just a tiebreaker, just in case. I just thought they were fun. 14. Okay, so we're gonna call it a tie for second. 2 16s, how's that? And then an 18 in the back. All right. All right.
All right. All right. Woo. Okay. That was a great quiz, by the way. That was good. Shelley, that was a good quiz. Yeah. Don't listen to them. That quiz was good. Well, I didn't want to show off, so I didn't take. That's my story. All right, so now we'll talk about the Reigate Puzzle. I reread the story this afternoon. I was like, I wasn't lit up about the story coming into this meeting. I thought, this is one of those stories. Yeah, kind of. But I read it, and upon reading it, I did reevaluate my own personal opinion of it. I thought that this is actually pretty good, and it's got a real puzzle. But there are things about it that I think are unique and interesting and worth discussing. So, first of all, I'm always interested in where do you all, and you all online, where do you rate this story? How do you rank it? 2 out of 5. Louise.
Top 10, because how many of the tropes of how these puzzles work themselves out has, especially the handwriting analysis. I mean, this is just a really great solution. Of course, we're presenting with the puzzle itself. We see the scrap. I think it's really a winner.
Great. Anybody? Who else? I saw another hand over. Yeah, Larry.
So placed at number 12 in his.
Right. That's a good point. Arthur Conan Doyle himself rated this story very highly, and he placed it in his dozen best stories. So he thought very highly of it. Mark, I saw your hand.
Well, I think we talked about this. It shows Holmes' somewhat weakness, even though it was disguised, but it showed that he's vulnerable to exhaustion, and the care of Watson was good. So I can see why Doyle thought this was one of the better stories, for sure.
Yeah.
The thing about this one that struck me the most when I read it again this afternoon is the quality of writing. Doyle has 2 modes when I read him. His writing sings with just this amazing flow of words that everything just melds together, and it's just, you read it and you're like, so good. It's so good. And then sometimes you can tell he was on deadline and he was like, he's like, give you 500 more words. What else? It's an editor here and there, and this one doesn't. It's not a word wasted. It's compact. It's logical. It flows. It makes sense. There are characters in there, and all of those characters have their own individual voice. It's just, to me, it's one of the higher writing quality stories that we've got.
Yeah, I agree. That's what struck me too. I thought, wow, this is really a crisp story, and I thought the dialogue was really good. That's the give and take between Holmes and Watson, and Holmes and the Cunninghams, and Holmes, and I thought it was just really sparking, and I didn't remember it being that way. Yeah, yeah, Nancy.
Don't remember ever reading this story until this afternoon. I don't know how that happened. I don't remember it. The things that stood out to me in it, I liked the story, but the thing that stood out to me in it was how Conan Doyle uses the story to tell you about people. My favorite line in the story is when Holmes laughs. I wish I could see Jeremy Brett do that. I mean, that was just the idea. We don't see Holmes laugh. He laughs in this story. I liked the fact that Holmes was cognizant enough, as much as he often brushes off Watson, he apologized for making Watson worry, which to me also was cool. And I think the most telling thing about a person in the story who wasn't either of those was the way, and I don't have the story in front of me, I can't remember the exact wording, but Watson's friend, at whose home they are staying, learns of the death of his neighbor's coachman, and he goes on with life, and it says he sat down to breakfast in just kind of things as normal. It very much tells you, oh, he was a servant, too bad, my friend will be sad because he was a good servant, but he completely goes on like this isn't an important murder because he was somebody's coach. And I loved the way Conan Doyle worded it, which I failed to bring with me. But to me, that was pretty cool because he says everything without actually saying it. He just makes it obvious.
Yeah, the writing is really good in this story. Yes, Marcia.
I totally agree with what Jessica said. It's crisp. It's not wordy. It's not, yes, that's exactly what I thought when I was reading it. The only thing that I had problem with the story was the attempted murder. That did not make sense though. I mean, you have the two other men right there, and you're going to try. I understand in the heat of, of the battle, so to speak, but yes, that didn't make a lot of sense to me, and that was the only thing in the entire story that I thought.
Overall, we like this story, right? Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so as you highlight, as was highlighted in the quiz, the story was published. This is a weird thing. It's the only story that has multiple titles. It's got the in the Strand, it was the Reigate Squire. Then when it was all the short stories were gathered into the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, the book form, it became the Reigate Squires. And then, of course, when it came to America, because we're Americans, we don't know what a squire is, so it became the Reigate Puzzle. And that's just an odd thing, and really, it still varies. I mean, you still pick up a book, even more modern printings of the book, and you might find the puzzle in there. So I just find that's a very curious bibliographic thing. Now, here's the thing that, oh yeah, Louise.
Said that the puzzle might have been the original title that Doyle had. That because Paget had it in his notes for doing the art, that he had done pictures for the Reigate puzzle.
Oh, interesting. So, oh, I did not know. That's curious.
I read that became the puzzle because the American publishers didn't want the aristocratic type novel like that for their American audiences. And so they wanted to bring it down to that level. There, they didn't want the high level title.
I'm not sure we'll ever really know unless there's actually a document with puzzle on it. That would be interesting to know. That's the first time I heard that. That's interesting. All right, but here's something that struck me when I was reading it. I like the opening. There's the introduction of the story before any of the mystery part of it begins is so loaded with material to unpack. We won't do it all because we could really be here a long time. But one of the tidbits in this opening thing is Watson talking about how overwhelmingly busy Sherlock Holmes had been. In the spring of 87, he had been undergoing, to quote, immense exertions that brought down this giant mystery with, the Baron, however you say his name, and what can we infer about Holmes's career by 1887? Remember, they met in 1882, 81 or 82, and Holmes was so poor that he had to take a roommate. But by 87, this was going on, that his room was ankle deep in congratulatory telegrams. What can we say about Holmes and his career and his reputation in 1887? Yeah.
I mean, if I recall, 87 and 95 are kind of held up as like the 2 years that Holmes really was at his best. And 87, it seems like there are a lot of cases that, depending on whose chronology you read, they're putting them in 87. He's busy. He's very successful. It's also an example of one of my favorite things that Doyle does, which is he starts telling us about all these other things that were going on that we're not going to really hear about beyond this. But it's like he's just dropping you into this world that's totally formed, and you're getting to see a little bit of it through a keyhole. But there's a whole lot more out there that you're not seeing. And I love that trick of it that he does, where this is no wonder people thought Holmes was real. When you read it like this.
Yeah. I mean, how does Watson describe Holmes's typical work day in 1887?
15 hours.
15 hours a day, every day. Yeah. 15 hours a day. Yeah. And of course, by the time he's done, is it any wonder that he's had this sort of nervous breakdown or this kind of breakdown? Yeah, sheer exhaustion, right? Who said that? Yes, exhaustion, that's it. Yes, Mark.
Well, it's kind of funny because I think it might coincide with Doyle's thing. As Sherlock becomes this iconic character, and he's now projecting that onto Holmes. The two are going up together.
That's a really interesting point. So what you're saying is, if I'm understanding you, is that in 1881, 82, that's sort of the point where Doyle in 1887 was writing Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
And then down the road, we go a few years, and now he's besieged by fame and all this coming at him the whole time.
It's exhausting.
Interesting. It's an interesting point. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of Doyle's personal life and personal experiences reflected in these stories, these and all his writing, really. So what can we say about his Black Depression, his Black reaction to, how would you describe it? Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying when I say con drop? Okay, y'all know what I mean. Some of you. If you haven't, if you've been to a big convention and you were there for 2 or 3 days, and all you do is live the con and all of the people, and it's people in your face all the time for hours upon hours and hours, that you're not in your normal world, you're not in your life, you're not, it's insane. And then you get home and you're just like, oh my God, what just happened this week? Post wonders, it is brutal. Contract is a real phenomenon. I mean, it's a joke for people who do a lot of real thing. And it feels to me when they describe it, I'm like, dude's got that's
Yeah. Yeah, but Cal.
yeah, I'll make first. Yes, well, yeah. It's that same more consuming sensory experience than for a regular one. What just that is. Now, Sarah here is the expert, I am not. But it also seems to me that it's a reaction with massively overstimulating. I don't know. Has anyone heard of the sleep theory when it comes to chronic illness or?
Yeah.
Yes. So in a nutshell, sleep theory assigns metaphorical to any kind of activity, so chronic illness, mental illness, what have you. And when you are out of these metaphorical spoons, even if you want to do something, doesn't matter how bad it's not doing, you simply can't. And that kind of struck me as what was happening with Maltese. That is so all in, overstimulated, wrapped in this previous case. And somebody's like, oh wait, the cutlery drawer is empty. There are no spoons left. Not even a fork. Not even I go back to the idea of Holmes-Made spectrum. But it seems to me that this is a case where even someone who isn't having been so focused and overstimulated on something, it's just.
Mm-hmm. And
From another, it's related to the spoons thing, but I know from like an artist's perspective, when you've created a work or you've worked on a project or something like that, and you're so devoted to it, you're euphoric as you're working on it. And then when you finish it, you're done. And there's this sudden letdown. And then you have no energy for a long time after that to even talk about, even to go back, like if I wrote my book, I finished my book, I'm like, oh, this is great. And then suddenly, now I have to go back and edit it. So, but for him, I'm sure that when he was working on that thing, he's totally euphoric. He doesn't mind working those 15 hours. He's totally engaged on it. He's really excited. And then when it's done, there's no more happy, it's kind of all gone.
my own personal thing is I remember when we were just doing Gillette to Brett conferences down in Bloomington, and they don't just happen, right? There's months of preparation going into this 3-day weekend. And then it happens and it's just, fantastic. We're at the Lily, we're at the cinema, or everything in the Wittenberger Auditorium, all this stuff. Then you go home and you're like, oh, now what? Now that's all done. And then, yes, the black reaction sets in. Then I go to work on Monday. That's terrible. So yeah, I can relate. I think it's quite natural and quite understandable. Now, he seemed to have a sort of nervous reaction, I'm not sure if I call it a full nervous breakdown, but some kind of psychological / physical response. And they're often related. So I think it's quite understandable and quite interesting. It shows that he's not Superman. So another interesting point that struck me is Watson's description of his comments about Colonel Hayter. Well, if you remember about when he talks about Colonel Hayter, is there anything we can infer about Watson's social life? We tend to think that he's just sitting there in Baker Street waiting for, he was waiting for Sherlock to get another case, and so they can go run off together. But does this imply something broader about Watson's social life, his relationship with Colonel Hayter. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Yeah, Mark.
But when I read it this last time, I'd never paid attention before, but I did wonder, what's Watson doing hanging out with this guy? You know, why are they friends? I never really thought a whole lot about it before. But it seems like they were actually pretty close. And that's a whole nother thing. I mean, who knows? This guy was kind of a big deal.
Wasn't he a former patient?
Yeah.
Well, they were together in the Army. Yeah,
Yes.
Don.
That's a very real thing in the military. When you serve in a campaign, on a ship, or wherever you are, whatever you're doing in the military, if you're going through something big, something stressful, you kind of lean on each other for support. And these guys become your comrades. These people they went through hell and back with you, and you have a connection with them now that you will never share with another human being on earth. And we saw it in Band of Brothers, when we saw the interviews of all those guys that were in Easy Company. These men that associate with one another, they may have hated each other at some point in their life, but they would have also laid down their life for that same person they hated, because they were going through an ordeal that they would never share with anybody else. And so when you share that association with somebody else, even if you don't really hang out with them that much or know them that well, like if I met somebody I was on the Milwaukee with, I would instantly have a connection with them, and they would become my best friend and my brother as soon as I reconnected with them, because I know that we shared an experience that nobody else shared.
I think that's a very insightful comment. But I'm wondering if it doesn't go broader than that. Because if you think in other places in the canon, Watson there are indications that Watson has other friends besides Sherlock Holmes. Yeah.
What I was kind of picturing, and again, this is Conan Doyle giving you the idea that there's this whole world that we're only seeing part of, is that Watson, maybe he doesn't actually physically get together with Colonel Hayter that often, but they've been corresponding. And I think it's very easy in our modern world to ignore the fact that writing letters back and forth was what you did back then. And it was more than sending somebody a quick text or shooting somebody an email. This is a lengthier, in a way, more intimate process, because you're sharing more. And so I imagine that Watson may not have had a lot of people that he was necessarily visiting with in London, but he had people that he was corresponding with. We see it in the naval treaty that Percy Phelps is reaching out to him. So I imagine he has a wide correspondence with people, as Doyle did as well. And that's just makes Watson more human, more three-dimensional.
I mean, I would remind everybody that there are other instances in the canon where, I see you've been playing billiards with Thurston again. Who's Thurston? Where did he come from? Thurston's obviously somebody that Watson gets together with and plays billiards and probably smokes a cigar and has a drink and hangs out with.
Watson's a normal guy. I mean, I would think that he'd get.
But that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Is there an implication about Watson that we're not fully getting simply in his interactions with Sherlock Holmes that is implied by his comments about Colonel Hayter or Thurston? And there's a few others in the canon too. I mean, it's kind of what Shelley is intimating, that we get a glimpse. This is one of the things I love about the stories, because these are all through the canon. You get these glimpses that this is why it feels real. These are, Watson has a life outside of 221B's sitting room, Yeah, Don.
Yeah, I just recently retired. And so those of you who don't know, July 31st, I retired from the VA. And at my retirement gathering, somebody asked me, what are you going to do during retirement? And I told them I was probably going to do a lot of Sherlockian stuff. And my chief of staff, my direct report, standing behind the person I was talking to. And the person I was talking to looked at me kind of funny, like, what's that? And I explained the world of Sherlockian and all the people that I know. And this is the first glimpse that any of these people in this room at that reception had ever had into my personal life. And it was a revelation. And my chief of staff said, that has got to be the single most interesting answer I have ever heard to that question. Who the hell does Sherlock Holmes?
Yes, Louise.
Shelley is saying, the Doyle is letting us look into this window, but to take the other side of this, Watson is who writes these stories. Watson is telling us all about things. Watson is going to keep his own stuff to himself. That's not his intent of what he's writing. So how many of us, well, some people would, but all about themselves. No, he has stories to tell. So only once in a while does he let slip.
What get a glimpse? Yeah, I find those moments very interesting. That's what I thought I'd ask about. Okay, so is this a story? Okay, you all know, is this an example in the Sherlockian canon of what is known as the Jessica Fletcher syndrome? I'm going to go on. Watson, we need to go on. Holmes, we're going to go on vacation, and there's a murder. I mean, you've all seen Murder, She Wrote, right? It got kind of weird. Like, oh no, Jessica Fletcher's coming to the party. Oh my God. Someone's going to die at this wedding reception. That's so. So, it happens in Musgrave Ritual. Holmes, come on down to Musgrave Manor and we'll just hang out. Yeah, well, except, we know what happened there. Gloria Scott, what happens there? Devil's Foot. I mean, every time Holmes goes off to get away from it all, someone. So, yeah. Is this kind of ridiculous, or is this, or is there something else that happens? Sometimes things happen with people. Yeah. Yeah, Andy.
So I have two opposing takes on this. One way you can look at it is Holmes has already made the comment to Watson about how he fears more for the countryside and what happens out there than what happens in the city. Which, in Holmes's mind, there is already so much stuff that is slipping under the radar. And so just the fact that they go out there and find something, well, that just goes right in with his theory. On the opposite side of the equation, though, if they just go off to some place and it's just a quiet weekend and nothing happens, what's Watson got to write about?
Well, that's very true. Yeah, it's true. Marsh.
Again, he points out in the story that it's because he's got such a reputation that they immediately go to him. And
Right. So maybe he's a magnet for that kind of attention. Yeah, Cal.
Possibly the correct theory here.
Ooh, yeah, quite words.
Holmes is in fact the most prolific serial killer.
He kills people with songs.
Interesting theory. Yeah, Mark.
One thing. Two or so. Would the Cunninghams gotten away with this if Holmes had not been there?
Oh, surely they would.
I think so. Yeah. Even though there was it was pretty good. I don't think he would have.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have gotten. He was.
That's my want to suspect landowners, they just were above his suspicion, so
Yep.
he wouldn't have thought that.
It's like an episode of Scooby Doo, and I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you kids. Yeah, Don.
We assign somebody to an investigation. You always assign somebody that has absolutely nothing to, like, if there's a nursing inside, you find somebody up in administration who doesn't even deal with the clinical aspect of care and assign them as the investigator. Because they have no preconceived notions about who the players are, where they stand in the pecking order. It's just like that the people, the constabulary, they are dealing with landowners all the time. These people are usually of a higher class. You don't usually suspect them of ill dealings. But Holmes, he comes in as a disinterested third party. He doesn't care who you are. Yeah.
I mean, it's not even just that they're dealing with those exact people on a daily basis. This is their community that they're always in. So
just a couple points left. This has been a terrific discussion. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay, so I want to talk about spilling the bowl of oranges. Okay, so now we know that Holmes is, quick on his, he's quick on the uptake. And he instantly saw an opportunity to create this distraction. But what does this moment say about there's a lot of Watson and I want to talk. What does it say about Watson? Because Watson, instead of, he wasn't Nigel Bruce, right? He wasn't like, I didn't spill those, because he instantly throws Watson under the bus. Yeah. So what does Watson do? How does he respond? He got it right away. Yeah.
Something's going on.
Yeah. He instantly knew Holmes wanted me to take the fall for this. So I'm going to do it. And, but what does that say about the real Watson versus sort of the perception of Watson? Kind of, what is that? Shelley.
To me, it speaks really of a long partnership. These two have been working together for quite a while, to the point where Holmes doesn't have to spell it out for Watson. Watson immediately picks up on, he's doing this for a reason, and I'm just going to back his play and trust that I'll find out what it is later.
You may not know what it is.
Yeah. Trust is. Yeah. He immediately, he just doesn't even think about it. He just
know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Right. To me, it's a moment that you can unpack. There's so much that you can say about the fact, his response. Well, Holmes's, the action of throwing Watson under the bus, and Holmes and Watson instantly just going with it. There's a lot to say about that. Yeah, Mark, you had your hand.
Well, Watson has always been the consummate gentleman, and in the Victorian era, and he demonstrates repeatedly, in my view, there's nothing buffoonish about him at all. And this is a perfect example of the insight that he has to his past. Because he's quick on the uptake.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Sherlock was, but so was Watson. They both worked in concert on that. It was great.
It was great. But Marcia.
That Sherlock was hot of any kind. So at the minute he, dumped in table, it must have been in Watson's mind. Oh.
Well, I think it wasn't just the bumping into the table. It was now you've done it. I mean, he literally blamed him for it. That was the moment where it's like, I'd be like, what?
Yeah. Also,
and
I think what you also have there is Watson had to quickly pivot as well, because just a few minutes earlier, two separate instances, he was concerned about Holmes's mental state, because he wasn't picking up on what Holmes was being challenging about.
Right. Yeah, right.
And then suddenly, I need to play along.
It's kind of surprising that he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oranges. Holmes literally reaches out in front of him. So it's very obviously deliberate at that point, whereas messing up the time and the passing out, Watson didn't have the clues. But when you watch the guy reach out and shove over the table and then go, well, now you did it, Watson. You know, it's a little more obvious.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It also shows Holmes trusts Watson a good deal to pick up on these things. So he knows he's not, I mean, he likes to insult his intelligence every once in a while, but he really does
Really?
know.
It-
Yeah, he knows he's smart.
When it matters.
Yeah,
Exactly. I
absolutely.
completely agree with that. Let's say the last thing I want to bring up is one of my again, Watson, one of my favorite lines, and it's certainly I think it is my favorite line in the story, and maybe in many stories. It's in the end, you know, it's that scene, it's the wrap-up scene, the classic mystery, right? You know, okay, now I'm gonna explain everything. And Holmes is talking about, he's going on and he's pointing this out and he's pointing that out. And at one point, Watson blurts out, do you remember the line? Oh, what an ass I've been. And it's like, that is, so I just love that line. I think it's a beautiful moment of honest Watson, you know, Watson expressing, I do have limits, you know, I have been an ass. I didn't see that. But, you know, who amongst us would not have been, you know, the same way? I'm pretty sure I would have been Watson. And Watson didn't do too badly, I think. So I think he's being a little hard on himself there. But that line really, I laughed out loud when I read that line. That was great. Yeah, Larry.
Not with Watson. One of the other lines that caught my attention was Holmes talking to Forrest. When they said, yeah, they had a letter or something like that. Oh, you've been to the mailman then. Commending him.
Yeah.
Hey, you're a step ahead of me. You're not like these other clowns that actually in the stories. But yeah, commending Forrester for doing a good work.
I agree. I think that's one of those moments of really good, crisp writing where the line says more than it says. You know, Holmes is recognizing that this guy is kind of a cut above the typical plotting provincial policeman, and he's kind of got it going. And it all comes out in that one line. You're right, absolutely right. Well, does anybody else have any final thoughts on the Reigate Squires that they want to share before we conclude our story discussion?
There were two weak points for it. Marcia talked about one, which was all of a sudden they jump on Holmes at the end, you know, kind of abrupt ending, whatever you will. The other was there were no other suspects. You know, who else could it have been? Yeah, there was some roving band of
The bandits.
The burglars, the mystery burglars.
There's going to be a real person there. Who else could it have been? There's no way to get a red herring in there. Well, so that I thought that was a little bit of a weakness. I mean, you were kind of, you know it's going to be them. It's more about how is it going to be them? You're kind of Columbo on this.
Well, I'll confess, when I first read the story, I didn't think it was going to be them. I didn't know who it was going to be. I was like, it's the burglars.
Yeah.
So who are the burglars? Annie Morrison, right? Whoever she is. All right. Thank you, everybody. That was great. Wonderful. All right, we're almost done. I just want to review a couple of things. Our planning meeting is Sunday, November 9. We'll be planning the December 6th, thank you. December 6th meeting, which will be at the Oaklandon Golf Club. Old Oakland, sorry. Old Oakland Golf Club. And we will be having the election at that meeting instead of in January. And I have something to tell you about the election. I wanted to share. I didn't want to really bring it up until now. But I just want to share with you that I will not be standing for Illustrious Client for the coming year. So I just want to talk about that a minute. You know, I've been an Illustrious Client for 12 years. I can hardly believe it. When I took over, the club I felt was kind of in the ditch. And I think I'm not talking about any individual people or anything. I just felt like the club needed some help. I love this club, and I knew I wanted it to go in a direction that it should go in. I had a vision for this club. I knew what its capability was and what its potential was. And I was very honored that the membership put their faith in me. And but the success that we've had over that 12 years, we got to where I thought we could go. And I think we are we're all illustrious clients, you're right. I think we're the best science society in the world. I say that not with any kind of personal credit. It's all of you. You can set the table, but if nobody comes and sits down at it, but it doesn't matter. And so, I sort of charted a course, but everybody got on board and we all got there together, and mission accomplished for me. So it's time for me. It's time, that's a long time. And it comes a point where you can kind of overstay, right? And so it's time. I'm 65. I just turned 65, and I've got other things I want to do and I'm going to do, but I'm not leaving the clients, but it's time for somebody else to lead the clients. So I just wanted to pass that on. So we're going to be electing a new president and other officers. And I just wanted to say that I'll talk a little bit more about it at the December meeting. I don't want to get too into it now, but it's been the greatest honor of my Sherlockian life to lead the Illustrious Clients. So we'll be looking at that, all of that in December. I hope you all come. It's going to be a very important meeting. Thank you. So anyway, we have one more thing. Yes. Don't take your name. Don't take your name tags home. And we close every meeting with a reading of 221Z. And this meeting is going to be closed out by Regina Stinson.
And now for the anticlimax. Here dwell together still two men of note, who never lived, and so can never die. How very near they seem, yet how remote, that age before the world went all awry. But still the game's afoot for those with ears attuned to catch that distant view-halloo. England is England yet, for all our fears. Only those things the heart believes are true. A yellow fog strolls past the window pane as night descends upon this fabled street. A lonely hansom splashes through the rain. The ghostly gas lamps fail at 20 feet. Here, though the world explode, these two survive. And it is always 1895.
And with that, this meeting of the Illustrious Clients of Indianapolis is adjourned.